Manchester United are FA Cup champions, and a big reason of that is because Erik got his tactics absolutely spot on. And we're going to deep dive into how Manchester United won the FA Cup final, how outsmarted Pep, and what went well tactically, and which players were the best, breaking it down into sort of 5 things we learned on a tactical basis. And I have to say, one thing about Erik is in finals, in one-off games, he is very good tactically, and that's something he probably doesn't get enough credit for. So I'm going to show you some examples in a second. But let's actually break down. The first thing we learned from the game is that Ten Hag's tactics were spot on. And let's break down why Erik Ten Hag's tactics were so spot on. First of all, the narrow out of possession structure, almost out of possession. Man United were in this 4-2-4 where they were very narrow out of possession. They set up cutting down City's passing lane. City could not break lines. They were so narrow, they were so compact. And because City lined up initially with more narrow wingers like Foden rather than Grealish and Doku who could stretch the width a bit, it was narrow wingers like Foden and Bernardo Silva who are really wide midfielders. That meant that City were playing with a very narrow approach, and that played into our hands because we noticed in the second half the only bit of trouble coming from City was Doku because Doku was utilising the width, which Pep realised and subbed Doku on, and that worked really well. And one thing that United did is they were very good out of possession, but in possession they also were clinical. When they got the ball, they wanted to move it quickly, they wanted to progress very quickly, and they were doing a lot of switches to play, long balls, finding space. Because one of Pep's weaknesses with Manchester City is as good as they are on the ball, they're so used to being so dominant, but they have so many technical players that the wingers were wide, and then he plays, Guardiola fullback who's not an actual fullback, and they're pushing high, and they're positional play isn't the best. And Manchester United exploited, Guardiola's good going forward, but his defensive positional display by basically, and I'm going to show you in a second, every single attack came through Garnacho. And United then, would push City high. They would press City high when City had the ball, forcing them into mistakes. City would push up high and United would move the ball quickly and utilise on the gap City leaving behind. And City's, when they started to push higher, Garnacho and Rashford would run into the space. And the narrow front four was stopping City playing the line-breaking passes that they like to play out. The Kobbie Mainoo midfield pivot was so compact that it was, De Bruyne did nothing. Bruno Fernandes should De Bruyne levels. And it was a perfect 45 minutes. The second half was a little bit different because we're parking the bus for our life, but it was a perfect 45 minutes. I mean, let's break this down. This is like just the tactical side. Let's break this down. Garnacho has the ball here. Delo has the ball here. And he could do anything. He could just play a simple pass back. He's like, no, I see Garnacho. And you see where the white line is pointing? Because it's such a long pass, it can't fit. Such a long pass, it can't fit in the screen. He plays that pass into Garnacho. Obviously, bounces there. Guardiola's more focused on pushing Garnacho, then heads the ball over. And then Bosch, what does Garnacho do? Garnacho scores. He puts the ball in the back of the net, and that's 1-0. But this is what United did. They defended well, they defended compactly. Man City only had 3 shots in the whole first half because of the compact defending, and Man City was so narrow. And they only started to do things when Doku and wider players came on. But then when they got the ball, they were looking for that long pass to exploit City's space where Guardiola had pushed up. And it was always on Garnacho's side. Walker did quite well against Rashford, but it was also on Garnacho's side. Because you look at here for the offside goal, Varane wins the ball back, he whacks it up to Garnacho. Garnacho's now in behind. Garnacho is just offside, but he's now in behind, exploiting Guardiola's position again. And Rashford scores, and then it's offside. Obviously, as well, Garnacho's shot early on that was right, Ortega. It was all the threatening attacks, not just the goals, were coming from Garnacho's side. And you look at it here, Rashford gets the ball, and you're wondering what this is. Well, this is the Kobbie Mainoo goal. Rashford gets the ball, switches into Garnacho. Garnacho does so well to control this ball, keep it on, and this is where the Mainoo goal comes from. Mainoo and Bruno advancing forward. Garnacho plays it to Bruno. Bruno has the ball. Bruno plays the most beautiful, amazing pass into Mainoo. Bruno's so underrated, unbelievable player, and Bosch a goal. So we're just seeing here, we scored 3 goals, 2 of them counted, but they all came from Garnacho. And even attacks where Garnacho had the shot and it was right Ortega came from Manchester United exploiting the space in behind. That's what they did. They were good out of possession, but in possession, they were clinical. They exploited the space. They attacked with passion. And of course, every player gave 100%. Ten Hag picked the right lineup. It was all perfect. And what a ball. Now, I also want to break down other key aspects that worked with Mainoo. I think Mainoo was key today in today's win. He's had a man of the match performance versus Man City and Liverpool, and he's in his debut season at 18, which is insane. He's 19 now, but obviously the first game was he was 18. And he was key in the win today. And why Mainoo was key, and I broke this down on the United breakdown, was that he was able to find spaces between the Manchester City lines to receive the pass. Manchester City, they were trying to stop us playing out from the back. Mainoo would run in between the lines, find the space, receive the ball, scan, play the ball forward. And he would have 3 or 4 City players around him at time in tight areas, but he's so press resistant, he could turn out, pass, then he'd run, receive the ball, pass, move, pass, move. His progression via dribbling, via passes, his passing move, his carrying was so good. And his ability to drop deep, act as the first receiver, be key when progressing the play, but then move the ball quickly, meant that Manchester City weren't as compacted defence, and that when we were moving the ball more quickly, an attack was more space to take advantage of, which resulted in Manchester United being more attacking, and Mainoo was a big part of that. But out of possession, him and Amrabat did so well. They covered so much ground, and we're going to talk about that. But I don't want to make this video too long, and I want to get through 5 things we learned from the game, which brings me into number 3. Varane and Leacher. They made such a difference today, and Pep Guardiola came out and said this post-match. Lisandro Martinez is top 5 centre-backs in the world. He made the difference on this game by playing passes through our defence. Pep Guardiola coming out saying, Lisandro Martinez, top 5 centre-backs in the world. And I tell you what, one thing Erik ten Hag proved right today. Erik ten Hag said our season could be different if Martinez and Varane were at the back and they're crucial. And I think Erik ten Hag, I'm not saying it would have been massively different. I think we could have maybe scraped top 4 and we'd been fighting out with Villa and got 4th, and it would have been there, but we'd have got top 4 kind of season. Because Villa are only 8 points above us. I think we would have got 4th had Varane and Martinez been fit all season. I think the centre-backs don't solve everything, but I think we would have got 4th if Varane and Martinez were fit all season. I mean, Rafael Varane was a monster today. What a monster performance. Proper box defender. Watching that today, I thought, please don't get rid of Varane, but the decision's done. Out of all the players on the pitch today, Rafael Varane would be one of the players I wouldn't want sold. Every player on that starting 11 today was there because they were good. You know, McTominay would be the only one I sold, and he had a good game. You know, it's a shame. I mean, Wan-Bissaka potentially. Of course, Amrabat will probably go. But when I watched Varane, I thought, why is this guy going? That's his last game with Martinez. His last game with Martinez, he wins a trophy. But that's Varane's last game with Martinez. And Varane and Martinez, man, 3 shots conceded in the first half against City. Considering we're conceding 18 shots a game this season, 3 against City, you know, that's good because we'd normally conceded 9 shots by then against any other team. And Martinez and Varane were class. The way Martinez dealt with Haaland, who's 6'5", and Haaland was diving around. Those two read the game so well. Martinez's aggression read the game so well. But Martinez's ability on the ball helped progress play. Varane's box defending, Varane in the air. Like that, the Martinez-Varane pairing is perfect because you've got the aggression and the ability on the ball of Martinez and the physicality of Varane and the box defending of Varane, which, you know, Martinez doesn't quite have. And it just worked well. And I tell you what, the centre-back we get to replace Varane, that's going to be massive. Which brings me into the 4th thing. Garnacho was key, and I explained that earlier. His running in behind and exploiting spaces was an outlet to all major attacks. As I said, Garnacho runs in behind and shoots. Ortega saves it. It was right, Ortega. Garnacho runs in behind, causes Guardiola a mistake, first goal. Garnacho runs, sets up Rashford for offside goal. Garnacho receives the ball out wide, plays it to Bruno for Mainoo goal. I mean, everything that happened in attack came through Garnacho, and obviously it's late. Ignore my spelling, ignore my errors there. But what I like about Garnacho is, and I think he's looked exhausted and not as good these last couple of games, but I love Garnacho. The kid gives 110%, not 100%, 110%. He runs, he does everything. He was a threat. What Garnacho adds is someone that wants to score goals, someone that attacks. You don't care about playing a safe pass. When you play the ball to Garnacho, something's going to happen. And sometimes he'll give the ball away, and sometimes things will go wrong. But Garnacho is that attacking outlet that wants to make things happen. He can go outside his play, he can go inside. He's going to constantly be making runs in behind, constantly looking to take on his man, pass the ball forward, and make things happen. And that's what United needed today. And I liked that Garnacho played, and I liked that Rashford played, although I think Ahmed deserved it on form, because you needed players that were very sort of pacey and were just going to take advantage of the let's get forward and attack. And we didn't see as much of that from Rashford, but he did well, and he was involved in a few goals. But Garnacho's constant running in behind, constantly trying to make things happen, forced mistakes, pressing City. There was a point where McTominay almost scored, but Bruno was pressing Ortega. But the attacking energy from the front four, particularly Garnacho, and the press, and the fact they gave everything was so key. Which brings me into my fifth and final point, which I probably should have linked to the Mainoo point, but we move. I wanted to give Amrabat plaudits. I also want to give Wan-Bissaka a quick shout out. He dealt with Doku really well in that second half. I want to give Delo a quick shout out. I thought he was good. Other than the goal, I think Onana had a really good game. Nobody on the pitch had a bad game today. Every pitch, we beat Manchester City. Yeah, to beat Manchester City, all 11 players need to show up, and they did. Some players were better than others, but all 11 players showed up and gave 110%. But something that worked really well, and something that, with Amrabat likely going, we're going to have to think about in the transfer window, why I would like Yusuf Fofana, is because I thought the Amrabat Mainoo pivot worked well, and Amrabat brought the best out of Mainoo. I really do, because Amrabat gives Mainoo a little bit of license to push forward, but also with Amrabat, he's comfortable on the ball. When we played Mainoo and Casemiro in the pivot, Casemiro isn't as comfortable on the ball as Amrabat in possession, so then our build-up wasn't as good. So then Mainoo would have to drop detailed build-up, whereas Amrabat can do the build-up phase and drop the feet deep and partner Mainoo. And if we're going to play a 4-2-3-1 or players in the pivot, I think Yusuf Fofana would be good for that. Now, interestingly, the compact narrow midfield worked really well, and I think that Amrabat and Mainoo were the two in that 4-2-4. The attacking four was pressing high, stopping City's casting lanes. Mainoo and Amrabat stayed narrow, blocking out Foden, Bernardo Silva, Kovacic, De Bruyne from doing anything. And they covered so much ground, Mainoo and Amrabat. They covered so much ground. They read the game so well. The positional sense was so good, but they were so compact that particularly in that first half, City couldn't do anything. And I thought that Mainoo-Amrabat partnership worked really well. So that is your roundup on Alice Talks Football of 5 things we learned from Manchester United 2, Manchester 1-1-5-1. We are FA Cup champions. Ten Hag tactically got everything spot on. I don't do many tactical videos unless it's a big win, so do let me know your thoughts down below, but please do hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Share the video. Big up everybody for watching. Thank you for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. See you next time. Bye.